Today, I'm setting out to define personhood. I will be creating a framework that identifies what exactly it means to be a person and considering how that might fit into some of the various ideas and concepts we have discussed over the course of Philosophy 12. To begin, I ask myself, what makes a person? Firstly, I recognize that I consider myself to be a person. Regardless of why I think this, I first wonder, is this objectively true? I don't believe so. I don't believe objectivity truly exists at all. How could it? If there's no God nor higher power, how could anything be true outside of what is deemed to be such by the populace? The existence of anything, to us, is dependent on our own flawed and subjective perceptions. Without a perfect being to create or perfectly perceive the universe, there can be no truer truth than the general consensus on what it is we are perceiving. Therefore, I cannot identify the objective conditions for personhood, as objectivity doesn't exist to me. Rather, I must define what my personal criterion for personhood is, based on my own perspective and understanding. I do not have the ability to share the perspective nor understanding of anyone else, so it would only make sense to identify this limitation. So then, why do I consider myself to be a person? Firstly, it's because that's what I've been told. I've been taught since birth that I am in fact a person. You are a person, mommy is a person, daddy is a person. So a person is family? The big living things that take care of me, talk to me, feed me, live with me. What about my teacher at school? Our neighbors? They don't live with me, but apparently those are people too. At least that's what I was taught. Okay then. So any of the big living things are people. That seems about good enough to me. But only the ones that have the biological makeup we call humans. So not bears or whales. That's what people are. But what about dead people? I mean, they're dead people. Are dead people just another kind of people? Or must you be living to be a person? I thought the big living things we call humans are people. So if they aren't living, are they not people? I think so. Dead people were people, but are no longer people since they're not living. Case closed. People are the living things that have the biological makeup of humans. But what about if somebody's missing a limb? Are they no longer people? I don't think so. If somebody lost a finger or an arm, they're still a person. That limb doesn't define them as a person. They're still one of the living things with the biological makeup characteristic of a human. But what if they lost their head? Well, they would be dead, wouldn't they? You could say, what if somehow they could survive, though? But what's the sense in considering a hypothetical as wild as that? This definition pertains to my reality, does it not? Why must it remain true for situations that are beyond what I understand to be possible? Therefore, I disregard such an idea. Without a head, as far as my understanding of science, and thus reality goes, a human body could not survive. Therefore, you would be dead, and not a person. So far, as long as you have all of the necessary body parts to live, and have the biological makeup of a human, then you're a person. But what if you were to isolate all the necessary body parts to support the life of a human body, and attach them to a robot? Well, I did say before that I was going to disregard outlandish hypotheticals. I'm having second thoughts now. I'm realizing that I must stop and identify the point at which a hypothetical idea is too far removed from reality to compare my definition of personhood against it. I think this framework or definition should be clear enough that it can still apply in some hypothetical situations beyond what is generally encountered in life. So how can I do that? For example, a hypothetical situation in which the concept of life and death no longer existed, and everyone was free to bend the laws of physics and science at their whim, is definitely past that line. Once you say that logic no longer applies, how can you make any sort of logical deduction? But a hypothetical where a cyborg, as described before, is created seems to be realistic enough of a situation to where I intuitively feel like it should be considered and not discarded. But why is this? After some thought, I think this line I've been drawing must be completely arbitrary, which explains why it's so hard to exactly pinpoint. The only reason why I considered some hypotheticals to be worth consideration and others not to be is merely based on my own perception of what seems to be closer to reality. However, I've decided that there is no logical deduction to be made when considering anything at all beyond what I fully believe to be possible. No matter how close something feels to reality, it has the potential to break this entire framework if it explores any ideas whatsoever beyond what I logically understand to be possible. Therefore, no cyborgs, no headless people, no clones, no nothing. I will acknowledge that my understanding of what is and isn't possible isn't necessarily complete or accurate to what it may be in the future. However, for this framework, I'm simply breaking down the logic behind how I define personhood at this point in time, with what I know and what I believe to be true currently. While hypotheticals like these can definitely make for some interesting thought experiments, and I can definitely see how there is the potential for advancements in science and medicine to bring them into consideration, that would simply mean that my definition may need to be reevaluated later on. And there's nothing wrong with that. Just about everything everyone believes has been redefined and updated as our understanding of science, the world, and each other has changed. Additionally, I did consider diving deeper into the biology of the human body and the many components of its operation, but I've ultimately decided that this would be unnecessary and counterproductive to my goal. While this is a somewhat formal presentation of my definition, it is in no way its finalized form. As I learn and experience more, this definition will most definitely change, or at the very least be reevaluated on a regular basis, as will everything else I believe. But I want this to be a more authentic snapshot of how I would define personhood as I understand it currently. There's no end to how much research I could do into biology, psychology, or any other ology, and an unending amount of information I could consider. So when would I decide that my understanding is adequate to make a definition? I don't know everything there is to know, and I can't know everything there is to know. So what's most important here is breaking down what I do know and how I can use that. This isn't to say I won't do my due diligence in order to challenge and compare this framework later on, but for the time being, I feel this is a sufficiently accurate summary of my definition thus far.